아주 nice 아주 nice give up nice
So, hello everyone, hello doctor. For starters, I want to ask all of you a simple question is that when we're facing now the job is replaced by AI, so who wants you when you graduate from UM? Do you have the answer that which company will give you a good job and provides you a very huge salary? Do you have the answer? Actually, we do not have the answer. We are now in a very severe planning paradox that overflow of graduates in shrinking traditional fields. So a lot of us cannot find a very good job and we will be replaced very fast, right? And many Chinese students come to UM because when you have a bachelor degree, it's not enough for the Chinese company. So we came to UM looking for the higher degree to find a better job, right? More higher degree to suit for more better jobs. A lot of graduates is finding job in a shrinking traditional fields, but actually like AI industry and for the e-car building is now have a very desperate hunger for talent. So it shows that we may be create more paper talent for the past, but actually nowadays require more productive assets for the future. So to fix this, we need a fundamental revolution in our planning logic. Maybe that is benchmarking. It actually helps us to build a value that from test score to holistic development. So we mentioned that Chinese has a very severe pain point is that we have a structural mismatch and a planning rigidity. We rely on outdated administrative quotas, but actually we neglect that there is a demand of the modern industry. Why that there is a gap? Because actually we have the wrong benchmarks. So we have been benchmarking from test score when we should have been benchmarking in market reality, market utility. So just like Malaysia, China also have a blueprint for the next 10 years because we have a very similar background and we can look into this picture. We want to set up a new benchmarking. So first we have the digital transformation because now AI is driven our working, studying. So we have to combine with the AI to our own thinking together. So it's actually a lot of difference from before. And we have the equality and quality is that we have to link between the urban rural gap and actually make more balance for the different area to learn to create a equal access to high quality resources. And for the skill oriented is that I just mentioned that maybe a lot of industry is required more graduates to work in this place like e-car industry and nursery for the elders and a lot of people related with AI. So it creates a lot of job and it require more skilled people to do their jobs here for this progress. So we have to link personal success and well-being to sustainable development for the whole nation. So when we talk about building a modern education system by 2035, we are not just setting a deadline. We are defining a state of being. But how we know that we are getting closer because we need to check the goal with our actions. So to avoid what I call blind modernization, we need a bridge between the current mismatch and the vision. So for you to understand benchmarking easily is you can consider it like a GPS. It will guide you to the right decision to tell you where is the right path In this situation, it tells us where is the world standard and exactly how many miles that we are lagging behind. So actually benchmarking is divided in 4 dimensions. And the first one we can look into is the internal benchmarking. Actually, it's spelled to focus to identify internal best practice. So, for example, if the math department or the science department has developed a very good super digital assignment workflow, and the art department benchmarks against them. So it actually built a standard to achieve a baseline excellence across the entire institution. And for the competitive benchmarking, I have a very good example now in China. We have a new university called Fuyao. It differs because traditional universities often benchmark against each other's paper output. And for Fuyao, as a new type of private university, benchmark against the industry gap. So they actually want to focus on that there is a gap between the academic learning and the need of the market. So the core competitive edge lies in marketing driven curriculum, unlike the rigid administrative lead planning of the past. Fuyao's courses are actually born in the workshop. They tailor their majors specifically to high-end manufacturing and industries where talent is most scarce. So they enrolled 50 bachelor last year, and actually in this year they are already signed the contract with the company. When they graduate, they will go straight to their company because they acquired a lot of knowledge and what they need for the future. So in this situation, actually Fuyao built a standard to the regular university that they ensure that what is taught today is what industry needs tomorrow. So they prepare their students for the future, not the past. The competitive benchmark that we have to look out to know what is better than ourselves and to learn from them. We move to the third dimension that we have the functional benchmarking. This is where we break the educational silo by looking at specific excellence in other industries. A prime example is how many modern universities are re-engineer their libraries by benchmarking against Eastlight Bookstore. It's a very famous bookstore in China. Actually add the experience design and culture curation. They remove iron shelves with warm lighting, coffee, social zones, and very comfortable seatings. The goal is to transform the library from a place for books actually into a community for thinkers. So actually it shifts from store to service. And the generic benchmarking. And actually the generic benchmarking is so a lot of school administrative process it actually learn from the luxury hotel because the hotels have a one-stop service and zero latency response logic. By adopting hotel style, this can ensure that every administrative touchpoint is effective, professional, and student-centered. It's about transforming administrative control into high effective governance. So, seeing how benchmarking is a way to bridge the gap between the current mismatch and the 2035 modernization goal. So, whether it's the Fuyao's model or the Eastlit style or the hotel level efficiency in our school and government, the goal is the same. So we have to create a system that truly serves as a productive asset for the future. So now to stay this only on the paper, we need a scientific digital implementation workflow. And how do we actually exclude it? how do we actually execute these benchmarks in a modern school? Now, my colleague member will take us through the digital implementation roadmap. Thank you, guys.
Hi guys, I'm Wang Siqi. Next, I will break down how this system is implemented in the education field. Okay, first, we introduce two series, the PDCA cycle, Plan, Do, Check, Act from Total Quality Management, and Xerox benchmarking model by Robert Camp. The PDCA cycle, as known as the Diamond cycle, is the most fundamental and classical closed-loop management model for quality management and continuous improvement. While Dr. Kinney also explained this process to us in class. First is planning. This stage includes setting goals, defining success indicators, and planning necessary actions. Next, doing. Implement the plan on a small scale and in a controlled manner to test its effectiveness and some risks. Record results and collect data for use in the next stage. Okay, checking or studying, analyze the results of do stage, compare the data with expected results, evaluate performance, and identify issues and constraints. Final one is the acting. Take action based on the findings. If successful, roll out the new process company wide. If unsuccessful, identify the root causes of the failure to develop a better plan and do a new journey. Well, this cycle told us improving quality is not a simple straight path. It's a repeating cycle. Spotting issue, acting on them, checking results, and making them standard. It's just ongoing internal growth. Okay, the Xerox benchmarking model, first created by Xerox in 1979 and systematic by Robert Camp, is a five-stage, 10-step benchmarking process. It's the world's most classical and widely used benchmarking measurement methodology. Okay, the definition of this is measuring the gap between one's own products, service, and process and the best practice of the strongest competitors, setting goals and striving to surpass them, and achieving optimal quality, reliability, and cost. Well, look at this picture. In the planning phase, we need to define the benchmarking contents, targets, and the data collection methods. Then, we analyze the data to identify performance gaps and set future goals. In the integration phase, we need to communicate the results to management, gain their approval, and incorporate them into the formal plan. The first phase is action, where we need to develop action plans, implement them, and monitor them. Finally, in the maturity phase, we need to normalize benchmarking. Once we reach a leading level, we need to solidify benchmarking into a continuous improvement mechanism and from a culture. So, how do we integrate those two theories in educational benchmarking management? First, we must understand that schools are not factories producing standard parts. We are dealing with living, breathing people. Therefore, we cannot simply copy another school's lessons plans or management process like Xerox would copy management. We use the camp models concept of looking outward for best practice as the basis for the plans phase of PDCA cycle. Schools first look outward to find benchmarks for holistic education and analyze the gaps. Then, we use the do and check phases, emphasized in PDCA to localize the experience learned externally, integrating them into the school's teaching culture and continuously monitoring the effects. This connecting to the last two steps of our five-step method. Well, in short, the five-step benchmarking management method in education is a project of using external benchmarks of excellent CAP model to drive an internal continuous improvement loop PDCA. So, what's the specific step in educational benchmarking? The first step is benchmark. In the past, we only looked at the exam pass rates. Now, based on the systematic view of educational quality, we need to collect quality data or process data, such as teacher turnover rates, success rates of bullying intervention, or students' mental health indices. The second step is identify comparators. Successful in educational benchmarking requires suitable comparisons. We need to find benchmark schools with similar backgrounds, rather than simply choosing the schools with the highest college entrance rates. The third step is identify gap. We need to benchmark not only performance, looking at the results, but also process, dissecting how benchmark schools train teachers or manage operations. The core question we need to explore is why are they doing better? The first step is learn best practice and implement change. Instead of blending copying another school's practice, we aim to understand the underlying mechanisms that produce better results, localize those best practice and translate them into our own improvement plans. Finally is remeasure. Improvement is not a one-off process. Benchmarking should be a regular, ongoing practice. Many organizations now use dashboards to view key metrics in real time, making benchmarking a routine practice. This not only drives the cycle but also fosters a culture of openness and collaboration with the school. Now that we understand this mechanism, let's look at how China's measurement standard for those performance gaps have changed. Look at this for. In the old era focused only on exam scores, both internal and external benchmarks were very narrow. Schools mainly competed on the volume of practice questions, weekly rankings results, and admission rates to top university. As a result, schools poured huge resources into creating exam materials and building question banks. In management terms, this kind of benchmarking was a zero sum game designed to get a egg within the fixed number of university places available. But as education's ultimate goals shift towards holistic student development, our benchmark indicators were fully restructured. Today, key measures include students' time in social practice, physical fitness pass rates, and the development of innovative thinking. School resources have also shifted accordingly, with having investments in students' clubs, mental health support systems, and similar programs. In short, our benchmarking goals have changed from the beating competitors to empowering students. This clearly shows how education benchmarking is returning to its core purpose of nurturing people, as education moving towards high quality transformation. Well, we have clarified the five-step cycle of continuous improvement. We face a core challenge in China's educational transformation. What measurement standard should we use? In the score-only era, benchmarking relied on a single metric, university admission rates. Today, under holistic education, without scientific standards, benchmarking easily becomes empty formalism. Against this background, we have established a benchmark system from macro to micro level, drawing on educational management theories and adapting to China's context. First, let's look at the macro level policy benchmarks, which serves as our national framework. From the viewpoint of new institutionalism, schools as social organizations are deeply shaped by external institutional force. In the past, we overly strong focus on the college entrance examination led to institutional isomorphism, as well as fierce internal competition that centered only on test scores. To address this, China's Ministry of Education issued the guidelines for the quality evaluation of compulsory education schools in 2021. Together with China Education Modernization 2035, these policies have fundamentally redirected national evaluation towards moral development, physical and mental health, and labor practice. In China, educational benchmarking policy alignment is the primary source of legitimacy. When selecting benchmarks, we first check whether a school follows the national strategy of joint promotion of moral, intellectual, physical, aesthetic, and labor education. Second, the meso level academic benchmark. Quantitative development in China means shifting from qualitative expansion to quality improvement. It focuses on vocational education reform, upgrading to highly quality applied undergraduate programs that match industry needs. Curriculum and instruction, enhance analogical political education, innovating teaching method, and encouraging personalized inquiring learning. Final one is teacher development, strengthening professional capacity and reform teacher evaluation systems. Third, the micro level, social benchmarking, external feedback. School don't exist in isolation, especially under China's double reduction policy, which strongly promotes homeschool community collaboration education. Social benchmarks includes long-term competitiveness of graduates, effectiveness of homeschool cooperation, and parental trust and community reputation. In short, policy benchmark sets direction, academic benchmark strength quality, and social benchmark test outcomes. By integrating those three into the five-step cycle, China's education benchmarking can move beyond exam-focused competition and achieve real high-quality development.
Hi everyone, my name is Niu Lin, and now I will continue with the third part. The previous speakers have already explained what benchmarking is and how it is implemented and evaluated in education In my part, I will use a few keys to say how benchmarking works in practice and also discuss its advantages and limitations. So we choose this case, which is titled The Practice of Education Benchmarking Management based on Hengshui High School. Okay, let's move on. Before introduce the case, I would like to explain the background of education in China, especially as we all know, the Gaokao is a very important exam and it largely determines which university students can enter and even their future careers. So, many schools focus heavily on exam results and admission rates as the key indicators of education quality. In this context, schools compete mainly based on performance. As a result, top performing schools naturally become benchmarks of others. In this page, we can see what did Hengshui High School do. And I want to say Hengshui High School is one of these typical benchmark schools. Many schools study its model and even try to copy it. Now, I will briefly introduce the characteristics of Hengshui High School. First, it is known for its highly structured management system. Students follow a strict schedule starting from around 5:30 a.m. and studying until about 10 p.m., which means around 15 hours of study per day. The learning process is also highly standardized, including preview, attending lessons, doing exercise, and review. Each step is clear defined. As a result, the school has achieved very strong exam performance, with many students admitted to top universities such as Tsinghua and Peking University. Now, we can use the benchmarking theory we learned early to analyze this case. From a benchmarking perspective, Hengshui High School acts as a benchmark of other schools. Many schools compare themselves with it, asking questions like, is our study time long enough? Is our management strict enough? Is our teaching systematic enough? Then they try to improve based on this comparison. This reflects the process of plan, benchmark, improve. However, in practice, some schools misunderstand benchmarking as simple copy, which can lead to problems. So now, when we from a positive perspective, this model, I had several advantages. First, at the management level, it improves efficiency because everything follows a clear process. And second one, at the teacher level, teaching becomes more standardized, which makes learning more predictable for students. And the last one is in terms of competition. It improves admission rates and enhances the school's reputation. So, in terms of exam result, this model is quite successful. However, I think it is more important to also consider its limitations. First one, there is a problem of mechanical copying. Many schools only copy surface features such as longer study hours and stricter discipline without considering their own context. And second, there is an emphasis on exam score. Education quality is reduced to test results, while students' creativity and personal development are often ignored. And the third one, there is high pressure on students. Long hours of intensive study can create significant stress and may affect students' well-being. We can see the picture in the Sunday student can go home, just stay in school, go to study. So, although this model can improve results in the short term, it is controversial in the long run. Finally, I would like to summarize to conclusion. This case shows that benchmarking can help improve educational performance in the short term. However, if it is used without adaptation, it may create problems. So benchmarking itself is a useful tool, but the key is how to we use it. And also, education quality should not only be measured by exam score, but also by students' overall development. So, I think the quality of education should not be measured only by test scores. Scores are important because they reflect academic performance, but they cannot represent a student's full ability. If we focus only on score, we may ignore students' interest in creativity and mental well-being. A true good education should support students' growth in knowledge, skills, and personal development. So, compare it to how high students score, how well they learn and develop is more important. That's all for our group presentation. Thank you for listening. Goodbye. Have a nice day.